tonight I spent the evening making the labels that will actually go on the panel. Electronic ignition, GPS source select, because I have 3 GPS in the airplane, so I need to set up a rotary switch to be able to select the source. I actually have a battery isolate, because it's a twin battery system, so I can go normal or I can isolate to the main battery if one happens to be pulling a discharge. And there's 2 power buses. One's emergency, one's normal. The emergency bus just isolates power to the essential flight controls. Everything else is turned off if you flip that to emergency. Then, of course, the landing gear up, down, and then the airspeed override, because the computer that I installed last spring is smart enough to know if you're going fast enough to raise the gear. So the way I actually made these was I took just regular paper and I laid it on top of the panel, and just with a pencil rubbed some of the graphite onto the paper, and then rubbed it with my thumb to get the impressions of where the switches would go and some of the outlines of where the radio stack is. You can see that there. That's where the ignition switches are. And then down between your knees is where the landing gear panel goes. And then over here is the bottom right hand side where the ignition advanced. That's actually, that curve there is where your leg goes in. Start switch, ignition. So once you scan them in with a regular scanner, and then you can draw them up with your favorite paint program, these labels. But then it's a good idea to print them out. Oh, by the way, you take measurements when you scan them in, either with a ruler or something, and then you make sure that you actually have the correct scaling in the paint program. So then when you print, it's a really good idea. You take some of your, cheap paper or something, and you take these things and you fold off the corners so you can see where the edges would go. I'm trying to do this while I'm filming. It's a little silly. It's not easy. And then you make sure everything will line up. You can see the circles line up, and then actually I moved it, but it lines up perfectly. So you'll know you have your scale right when it prints. I actually, earlier this evening, I printed the first batch and found that they didn't match. So I had to go back and check the scaling, and it turned out to be one of the print settings. So what I've done is I've just laid this onto a standard label. Staples, you get them anywhere for an inkjet printer or even a laser, doesn't matter. And then on top of this, you'll either apply a clear coat, real light, so it doesn't run the paper, and then a real thin layer of epoxy. And what happens is it turns it into an adhesive that is protected from scratches, well, reasonable scratches. And it's pretty cool. So I've done this before on different airplanes, and it's a tried and true method, and it really helps with the look. It beats a sticky note in a crayon. So that's tonight's work.